Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going. As I like to remind you each and every day, it expands our base. I had a dream last night that the year was not 2024, but the year was 1980. And the debate was a powerful debate, which actually was even bigger in 1976. Who owns the Panama Canal? That was the question. And you may remember that Ronald Reagan, then former governor of California and a candidate for the Republican nomination for president in 1976, made it a major campaign issue against Gerald Ford. Do you remember the expression that was so much a part of the American political lexicon? We bought it, we paid for it, it's ours. He reiterated that in 1980, but with less emphasis. But 76 was the year when Ronald Reagan tried to convince us that we should keep the Panama Canal. Well, let's go back and remember that this issue of ownership of the Panama Canal generated such controversy, such excitement, that Ronald Reagan nearly won the Republican nomination for president in 1976. But I want to give Ronald Reagan credit. When he became president in 1980, he did not try to reverse the decision of the United States Senate. I'll remind you that that vote was a very narrow vote. Dennis DeConcini, a name long forgotten in our history, Dennis DeConcini was the senator from Arizona, a Democrat, and he voted for the Panama Canal Treaty, and that, frankly, is the reason why it passed. It was a bipartisan move, and then, you will remember, the people of Panama voted whether or not to accept the Panama Canal Treaty, and they voted overwhelmingly, by better than 2-1, to accept it. And now we have Donald Trump, who is claiming that the Panama Canal Treaty was a bad deal and the United States should reclaim the Panama Canal. I'm raising this issue with you because I want you to understand something that I said the other day. It isn't just the Panama Canal Treaty. It's the question of who owns Greenland, which, by the way, is owned by Denmark. And Denmark has indicated they do not plan, under any circumstances, to relinquish control of Greenland. And I would remind you that Donald Trump is raising these issues, and some say, oh, he's just making a show of it. He doesn't really mean it. Well, I grew up at a time when if the President of the United States, or the President-elect of the United States, said something, it should be taken very seriously. Let me remind you that it is the President of the United States that sets policy. And let's just give you a quick view. Right now, Ukraine is able to survive and battle against Russia because the President of the United States, Joe Biden, has supported Ukraine. Now, the question becomes, what happens when Donald Trump becomes president? Will support for the Ukraine evaporate? And what about NATO? NATO has been a consistent issue for Donald Trump. During his presidency, he frankly wanted to get out of NATO, and you may remember that Mike Pompeo, who was Secretary of State, and John Bolton, who was head of national security, came to Trump and said, no, you mustn't do that. And that's what saved our involvement in NATO. And now we have another issue. We have colleges and universities recommending to students who are international students that they should make sure they're back on campus by January 19th, the day before Donald Trump takes the presidency of the United States. This is a very important moment, a moment we need to understand. We need to understand it thoroughly and completely. Who is president of the United States matters. And so I open with the Panama Canal. I remember years ago sitting down with Congressman Phil Crane of Illinois. He wrote, by the way, a splendid book explaining why the United States should never relinquish control of the Panama Canal. And of course, in the end, what we did was the right thing. It's true we bought it. It's true we paid for it. And it's true that our strength as a nation was to go back to Panama and say, we understand this issue. You run it, you take care of it. And that's what the Panamanians have done. Donald Trump has made an outrageous statement that the Panama Canal is run by the Chinese and the Russians. You and I know that isn't true. Any factual view can see it. We also know that the Panamanians who now control the canal have done nothing to disrupt our ability to use the Panama Canal. These are strange times with strange issues. And it seems to me, as somebody who studies political history, that one must go back in history to the campaign of 1976, the campaign of 1980, in order to put all of this in perspective. We must understand that what Donald Trump is suggesting is not only disruptive, it's wrong. It's wrong from an argument point of view. It's wrong from a factual point of view. It's wrong historically. And so the question becomes, when you have a man or an individual who is about to become president of the United States of America, and they take these positions, what do? We do the only thing we know how to do, and that is to try to remind all of us of our history, who we are, what we accomplished. I went back yesterday and reread Jimmy Carter's memoir on Panama. He explained his logic, he explained it clearly, and he was right. And then I went back and I listened to what Ronald Reagan and Phil Crane and other conservatives had to say, and they were wrong. And yet we now witness a moment in time when the world wonders what the President of the United States, who will take office on January the 20th in a second term, what he will do. The Panama Canal Treaty, Greenland, the question of NATO, the question of, so many issues. And it all hinges on the whim and whimsy of one individual. January 20th, less than a month away, is going to be an incredible moment. We're going to see a man who has claimed the presidency for a second time. He's the equivalent of Grover Cleveland, the 22nd and 24th president. Yep, 2 non-consecutive terms. And all of the speculation, all of our questioning, that's what's happening right now. And that includes the question of mass roundups and so much more. So let's pay attention. Let's talk about it. Let's think about it. And that's what we're going to do right here on Around the Political World with John Rothman. Thanks for tuning into another episode. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand, which, of course, is our goal. And you can interact with me on Facebook and LinkedIn. You can tell me what you think. Many of you email me, and I'm delighted to receive your emails. And, of course, deep appreciation to Gogo Zoger, the wonderful producer of the program. And may I say to all of you, have a splendid rest. And New Year's is right about to hit us, and we'll have to start all over again. I can't wait. This is John Rothman, and you are listening to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I'll see you on Monday.